El Chapo's insane new FBI deal changes everything. This man is a real-life villain, a cool-headed monster, and a brutal murderer. I don't know if you're gonna believe me or not, but this guy has escaped from the most advanced prison in the world, twice. Interesting, right? But we have a more interesting story when the FBI finally caught him. They actually made an insane deal with El Chapo. What's that? To know more, stay tuned till the end. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Consider subscribing to the channel and pressing the bell icon to join our community of fans of thrills. With that said, let's start. The 5'6" mobster who managed to outmaneuver, outfight, or outbribe his competitors to stay at the top of the drug trade for more than a decade was superb at what he did. He is El Chapo. As he advanced in the drug trade, Guzman meticulously studied the strategies and errors of his instructors and formed relationships that allowed him to elude the government for years. Guzman was approached by the Mexican army and American agents on several occasions, but he was always warned before they raided his hideouts by his layers of bodyguards and spies. His escape from Mexico's most guarded prison, which was actually his second prison break in 20 years, had embarrassed the Mexican government. Although those who captured him were left in no mistake this time. "You are all going to die," he warned the police in the hours after his capture in Los Mochis, northwest Mexico, on January 8, 2016. After being convicted of worldwide drug smuggling in a graphic 3-month trial that exposed his criminal empire, Guzman was given a life sentence plus 30 years. Guzman claimed he had an unfair trial and that his treatment in solitary prison amounted to torture at his sentence in New York. El Chapo has been eluding capture for years, but a crazy new FBI strategy has completely altered his situation. Guzman was found guilty in February 2019 of 25 years of drug smuggling, money laundering, and tons of cocaine, ecstasy, and methamphetamine into the United States. He was ultimately given a life sentence plus 30 years in jail and a hefty $12.6 billion fine following years of a thorough investigation. Guzman's attorneys asked for a new trial, alleging juror misconduct after one of the jurors said that he and a few other jurors had broken the jury rule concerning seeing media coverage of El Chapo. Judge Peter Newman of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 2nd District rejected the motion made by Guzman's attorneys, citing Judge Koken's meticulous and unbiased administration of the 3-month trial as grounds. When Guzman heard concerns that there was no justice being served, this was the breaking point for him. But what particularly made up the investigation that radically altered El Chapo's life? Well, you are gonna love it. Following a 10-year investigation that resulted in Guzman's extradition to the US and eventual conviction by the US Immigration Service, as well as inquiries by the National Security Agency in New York and Arizona, Guzman was apprehended. The US Marshals Service, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and the New York City Police Department provided assistance to the FBI. The existence of the groundbreaking deal and several phone calls, which was the cherry on top, were revealed after Stephen Marston, the FBI agent who assisted in leading the operation, gave testimony as a witness during Guzman's trial. He told the jury about the risky deeds of a computer specialist called Christian Rodriguez, whose cooperation with American law enforcement led to the famed drug lord's long-awaited capture and just conviction. Rodriguez risked his life by giving the FBI the secret encryption keys to his system in 2011, after relocating the network service from Canada to the Netherlands. The fact that he was acting surreptitiously at the time this all occurred is the most fascinating. In February 2010, this Colombian infotech expert, Christian Rodriguez, was contacted by an undercover FBI agent at a Manhattan hotel. The first thing Rodriguez did after being hired as an informant was to get around the security network he had set up in Guzman's mountain stronghold. Rodriguez fabricated an outage that briefly shut down the network in May 2010. Rodriguez's then boss, Jorge Cifuentes, believed the servers were down because Rodriguez had neglected to renew the contract. The FBI was able to listen in on Guzman reportedly arranging a 6-ton cocaine deal with members of the FARC rebel organization because the outage was staged to require Guzman and his operatives to use tampered cell phones. The seeds were initially planted when Rodriguez was asked whether he would be interested in speaking with Guzman's colleagues without alerting the police. He said that Guzman contacted him often to ask for more eavesdropping software. The technique was created to prevent law enforcement from monitoring Guzman and the other drug cartel members of Mexico's Sinaloa organization. It was successful up until Rodriguez broke the security rules by turning on Guzman and deciding to testify against him. This was at the start of one of the most amazing operations that saw the FBI hack into Guzman's covert network and collect almost 200 phone conversations with his subordinates in less than a year. These discussions provided the FBI with knowledge about Guzman coordinating massive drug transactions. and they even recorded Guzman openly discussing the unlawful payments he paid to Mexican officials. In testimony before the court, Rodriguez said that he personally set up 50 BlackBerry phones with surveillance software called Flexi Spy at Guzman's request. The undetectable program can read text messages and call logs, steal passwords saved on the device, remotely activate and listen to the microphone, and read text messages and call records. Christian's superb work exposed some of a criminal defendant's most complete wiretaps. Since it was also secretly taped, the testimony of mafia boss John Goudie provided the most damning evidence against Guzman during his drug trial. During the early phases of the trial, which started in federal court in Brooklyn in November, former El Chapo lieutenants, suppliers, and distributors gave testimony. Surveillance firms, drug trafficking ledgers, and witness testimony are other typical forms of evidence. However, this was the first instance that prosecutors acknowledged utilizing covert tactical surveillance, listening in on cartel members' private communications. The calls themselves had a disastrous effect on Guzman's capacity to stay unharmed. Guzman was overheard trying to con one of his sicarios, maybe even Gastelum Cruz, into meaningless altercations with Mexican police in a series of phone calls that started in April 2011. Guzman was heard saying, "Don't go after the police, they're the ones who help." Guzman instructed a cartel agent to pay a new federal police commander. It was revealed in another series of contracts that were covertly recorded. El Chapo asked, "Does he receive the monthly payment?" Gato replied, "Yes, he does." Then, as soon as Gato handed the commander the phone, the most incredible thing happened during that call. According to the tape, Guzman encouraged the commander to do all in his power to look after Gato since he was a team member. The commander replied, "You've got a buddy here. Well, friendships definitely come back to bite you, don't they?" After Guzman's final statement, "Whatever we can do for you, you can count on it." The jury heard nearly all of the intercepted talks between them, in a different complaint that was filed earlier this year. The prosecutor claimed that Guzman had been overheard discussing a 6-ton cocaine sale with a representative of a left-wing Colombian guerrilla organization. El Chapo can be heard haggling over the prices in this tape, even before delivering the client the initial $50,000 payment. He insisted on sending a technician to do a quality check. Jorge Cifuentes, a Colombian supplier to Guzman, gave testimony in the FBI agreement that ultimately led to his execution. He had introduced Christian Rodriguez, a computer expert, to the drug lord. He continued by saying that Rodriguez had promised to build an exclusive voice-over IP network for the cartel network's members and to offer a secure channel for all of the network's conversations. El Chapo was able to connect to Wi-Fi from his hideout in the Sierra Madre Highlands because of this technology. But as luck would have it, a few days after Guzman placed the calls, the FBI answered them. Specifically, from April 2011 to January 2012, the FBI was able to record a total of 1,500 phone calls during that period with the assistance of the Dutch authorities. By comparing Guzman's high, nasal voice with earlier recordings of him, the calls were further verified. Unexpectedly, this comparison process contains a video of El Chapo's Rolling Stone interview from October 2015. Although El Chapo's sealed arrest represents a significant accomplishment, the operation nonetheless had several unfavorable outcomes. Christian Rodriguez's nearly 2 years of operating in secrecy had a significant negative impact on his mental health. The stress of working for El Chapo every day is what most likely contributed to Mr. Rodriguez's mental breakdown in 2013. Many cartel members thought he had worked with US federal authorities after he left Guzman's cartel to locate the FBI witness. What a story, right? This is no less than a suspense thriller. But what about you? Tell me your thoughts about the thriller in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, we expect a like from you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to stay updated. See you at the next one. Until then, peace.